Good morning and welcome into episode 2 of Borderline Sports. I'm Josh here with Steve. Steve, how you doing today? It's Wednesday afternoon.
I'm
How's your
doing
week been
well.
so far?
It's going well. Really enjoying the football action here. I think I'm 3-1 across all of my fantasy leagues.
Oh, nice.
Last year I was 0-4 after week one, so definitely turned some things around here.
Oh yeah, love that. Yeah, I had a real close call in a league of mine. I needed Derrick Henry to not get 16 or more points, and
Mhm.
he got 15 point something.
Oh, I
Yeah.
I feel bad for all the fantasy owners out there who had Gostowski. Late Monday Night Football. The last chance to win a game, and he botches what 3, 4 kicks. That's
4.
rough. Bad
And an
beats
extra
right there.
point, and an
Oh,
extra point. Oh, it was just
ooh,
but he got
that's
him the
12
game
points,
winner, so,
13
like,
points.
yeah, the
He
Titans have
did
had
for the
some
Titans. He
problems.
did. He did. The Broncos fans out there will say that, we'll get into it, but that they outplayed and they had a chance to win. They just couldn't run the ball out in the fourth quarter, and
Oh, they for sure did, but
you know,
you got a gunslinging rookie QB and a few, drops by Jerry Jeudy and other and company that I mean, you just don't have Courtland Sutton out there, it's gonna be tough, man. We'll get into that later because Fant had a wonderful game, so,
he did.
um, let's just do a quick recap of last week. Ravens and the Browns. Ravens crushed them. Yeah, we were kind of expecting that, but also like it's the Browns and Ravens, so you never know interdivision.
Yeah, last year the Browns and Ravens played early in the year, and the
Browns
Browns
won.
won.
Yeah,
Man, just Cleveland, what's going on?
dude, I don't
What's
know.
it's disappointing. It's just the Browns are going to Brown, and the
Yeah,
Lions are going to Lion.
yep.
You know,
If you have Nick Chubb or Kareem Hunt, I would not be as worried. Or Jarvis Landry. Jarvis Landry seems like he's solid. I think David Njoku had a good game, but I hear he might be on the IR, so we'll have to keep note about that.
Mm.
I'd be concerned if I had OBJ. Definitely a trade option for me, in my opinion.
Yeah, but you're selling low at that point, though. I mean, he hasn't had a. If you're in one of those leagues where it's an auction league and he's a high value, and you're just trying to dump him, I don't. You're hoping that before at least week 8 or so that he has a couple good games under his belt, so his stock rises. But
Oh, that's fine.
man, his
But
value has never been lower.
no, I understand, but it's been this way for 2 years, and apparently Cleveland's. We'll get into that in the news and notes, but um, yeah, it's just not good in New York. There's a reason they traded him, and honestly, I think it's just starting to show. I mean, 3 for 10, ouch, and there were a few
Mhm.
drops and the bad quarterback play. That's just Browns are the Browns, the only normal thing in 2020.
That and the Detroit Lions.
Yeah. Otherwise, Bills took down the Jets as we expected. We had an upset. Washington was down 17-0 and then came back and rallied to just batter and injure the Eagles even more. Dude, Carson Wentz, 2 interceptions, 2 fumbles.
Yeah, that offensive line looks a little sketchy, but I'm happy for Ron Rivera. Good old Riverboat Ron.
Oh, for sure.
Former Bears defensive coordinator. We always thought he was going to be a good head coach. Had a stint in Carolina, and then obviously recently with the cancer diagnosis, getting an IV at halftime on the sideline. I
Yeah,
mean,
I
if
heard
you're not pumped up to play for that guy right now, then why are you playing football? So
exactly.
it was cool to see the Washington football team really rally together, and we'll see where it goes. We'll see. We can ride that momentum out. That division is not good,
No.
and if they can take care of their own and maybe sneak a game out against the Cowboys, they could do it. We'll see. It's early. Don't want to overreact though.
Nope, exactly. I was gonna say it's gonna be a nice little segment later. Over or underreact about week one. It's always the case.
Mhm.
Jaguars came back for a win. I'm kind of bummed because, like last podcast, I thought the Colts were going to be great.
Yep.
Still think they have a chance to be, especially now that you have more of a one running back system.
Yep.
Philip Rivers didn't look that good. Anyway, keep moving
And
on.
yeah.
Raiders and the Panthers. What a shootout. 34-30. Love the fact that Josh Jacobs just dominated week one. Seahawks won over the Falcons. Patriots beat the Dolphins. My almost upset of the week, I'll give it that. Chargers and Bengals. Oh God, were you able to watch that game? Were you able to watch the last quarter specifically?
I had the Red Zone channel on, just like most of America at that time, really focusing more on the Saints Bucks game. But
Yep.
it was good to see. Joe Burrow out there, obviously, first time in a Bengals uniform for us. He had a couple missed throws here and there, but that's going to happen. He looked comfortable. He looked confident, and
He's throwing the ball well.
he's throwing the ball well. He's got a chip on his shoulder after a tough Week 1 loss, and I think it looked good. I would like to see the rookie out of Clemson, Higgins, get used a little bit more, but in time, these guys got to ramp up in the season.
Oh, for sure. And just to comment on that as well, he had 2 open deep passes that he just missed on. Offensive line troubles, it's hard to stay upright that long to get someone downfield. But yeah, I
Yep.
agree. It'd be nice to see a little bit more mix.
Against
Um,
a good defense too.
oh, for
Give the
sure.
Chargers credit; they're a solid defense.
Well, and then I'm not sure if anybody listening didn't see, there was a offensive pass interference call on AJ Green. Honestly, I think that was a good call. He pushed off pretty hard towards the end and then got the catch. I don't know. You can sometimes let him play, but the sad story is that they missed a 30-yard chip shot. The kicker pretended to get hurt. Man,
Do you think he pretended? I haven't followed
he's
up on that.
fine today.
Is
He
he
was
fine?
fine the next day apparently,
Oh,
so I don't
jeez.
know if maybe you pulled something. I'm not trying to, like, insinuate anything bad, but
That's yeah, hard to be trusted by the coaching staff and your teammates if you're gonna pull that. But you never
yeah,
want to speculate. You never want to speculate. So
no.
we'll let the Bengals tell us what's going on there. But and then you
Yeah,
have the Cardinals. The Cardinals have the Niners number. They're
wow.
9-2 against San Francisco in their last 11 games. Kyler Murray, his little scamper there in the second half, that was so cool. He's so fast. They're an
93
exciting
rushing
team.
yards.
Yeah,
93. Well, then that was over 100, but they ended up, I don't know why they did a shotgun style kneel down, but whatever.
whatever's
She
comfortable, right?
should have 100 rushing yards, but statistics.
Yep, yep. But yeah, I mean, kudos to them. It just goes back to what we were saying in our previous podcast, how the NFC West is a tough division, and it's arguably wide open. You have every team winning except San Francisco, which they'll be fine. They'll be absolutely fine. Little scare there with Kittle, but he's okay. So
Dude,
it's gonna be fun to watch. Definitely.
Jimmy Garoppolo did not look good. That George Kittle injury, he had to leap in the air to catch a simple dump off pass and then ended up being tackled as he was falling down. I mean, that's really what ended up causing him to get buckled. We'll see. We'll monitor that going forward, but he has bad games, he has good games. It just wasn't a good game for Jimmy G.
Yeah,
Seems
I
like
think
he
it's one of
plays
those
the
things that you
Cardinals
could
and
put in
it's
the don't overreact bucket.
exactly.
One thing that's weird about Jimmy to me that in comparison to all the other quarterbacks I've watched over the years, his feet don't move in the pocket.
Nope.
Like they might like
Growing
just
roots.
barely, but he's definitely a quiet, drop back guy with his feet. So it's interesting to see and watch, his mechanics.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if they move on from him soon enough. Saints and Bucks. Saints ended up winning. Brady looked a little bit rough, but a lot of people do in Bruce Arians' system. I feel like a lot of people were tuned into the game of the week, so not
Yeah.
really a whole lot to dive in there. Drew Brees looked good. The only thing I do want to comment on, well, actually, we can talk about it in a little bit here about some booms and busts. Michael Thomas did not have a great game.
And
Um,
he's hurt for a
yeah,
few weeks now. So
yeah, got hurt at the end of the game.
hello, Emmanuel Sanders.
Rams ended up sneaking one past the Cowboys. It was a fine game, I guess. Yeah, and we can go over some injury updates there. I think the Cowboys struggled. Um,
Uh-huh.
Steelers won last 2 nights ago against the Giants. No shocker there. And
Yep.
then the Titans snuck out a win against the Broncos. Yeah, we already mentioned 4 missed field goals and an extra point. They should have had 13 more points. That game shouldn't have even been
Did you
close.
notice that Steve Levy called Gostkowski a Hall of Famer? Like,
Yeah.
future Hall of Famer Gostkowski going up for his first kick as a Titan. Shank, shank, shank.
Oh.
Oh man! And just to touch base on the Cowboys, they
He
are
also
one
had
in.
surgery. I just want to point out he did have off-season surgery on his hip, so
Sure.
this is his first. I don't know how much that really affects your kicking, but yeah,
No.
I'm not trying to throw too much shade his way, but at the same time, like
I always
1 for 5
I,
is not
I
good.
always relate a kicking motion to a golf swing, and if I just come off hip surgery, am I going to play well in my first round out? I don't know if I will. So yeah, I give him credit there, or at least the benefit of the doubt that might have played a
Oh yeah.
role. And then
Well, then you're under the lights. You miss one, then two, and now it's just in your head. Now you're
mhm,
just screwing yourself over.
with no crowd either. That's got to be eerie.
Yep.
I don't recall if I mentioned this in the first podcast, but I was curious to see kickers, accuracy percentages and field goals made percentages and how they differ this year than last year, considering the circumstances of no fans, and if it plays a role at all. You would think that they would make more kicks because of the lack of crowd, but could be the other way around. Maybe guys kickers are like baseball pitchers. They're better when there's more pressure on them, and if you're in a packed house, there's definitely more pressure on you. So interesting to see that statistically moving forward. And
Yeah,
then
we'll
last year
flip
here
them
to
on
to
to that.
recap, yeah, just to recap something on the Cowboys here that is has been a pain in their side for a while now. They're 1-7 in one score games since 2019. It's second worst in the league.
Yeah,
One and seven.
I don't think I think that's against the grain. I think that's going to change. I mean, you look at the Packers and they were the opposite. I don't believe they were a 13-3 team last year.
Hmm.
I think it's the same thing. I think they're going to be able to not necessarily rebound, but they're going to go back to the mean and at least get like one or two more wins when it comes to one score games.
Sure.
That
Law of averages, right?
Yep. And then we had the Packers taking down the Vikings, as I kind of explained last podcast. You got Rodgers against rookie corners. He can do his hard counts because there's nobody in US Bank Stadium and a battered defensive line. 4 touchdowns, 370 yards. Lots of Packer fans giving me crap throughout the last few days.
Scary. Scary.
I'm not going
Yeah.
to overreact to this. I think
Uh,
Rodgers had the perfect scenario of him being pissed off trying to prove rookie cornerbacks. And I mean, he's spreading around touchdowns like none other. I mean,
yeah,
they're
because
just
that's
getting burned left, right, and center. 43 points against a Vikings defense does not happen.
that you don't
They
want Aaron
imploded.
Rodgers
It's
with a chip on
41
his
points.
shoulder.
No.
That's
Well, and then
no.
he gets his essentially home field advantage. There's no fans in US Bank Stadium,
Yeah,
yeah, et cetera. We
turf
already broke
field,
that down last week.
pasture feed. Yep.
Everything I thought was going to happen did happen. It was a shootout. I did like to see the offense actually do something for the
A
Vikings.
good fantasy game. Thielen had over 30 points for me.
Yes, he
Same
did.
did Rodgers. So good stuff there. And then yeah,
Bears
the
alone,
Bears little ugly there in the first three quarters. Especially,
really.
we knew the offense was going to. Or it was. Mitch was being Mitch. He was inconsistent. Good plays, bad plays. I thought his eyes were better. I was happy to see the running game. The Bears were a little bit more under center, a little bit more play action, kind of playing to Mitch's strengths.
Yep.
And then, Matt Patricia once again dialed the wrong buttons there in the fourth quarter. Granted, it was against a hurt secondary, but
Ooh, I don't think he did.
Mitch Trubisky is good against man to man. At
He
least better
is.
than zone, and against a weak secondary that's injury riddled, took advantage of it, and had a great fourth quarter. We got really lucky with that Swift drop that would have
Yeah,
ruined the
that was
comeback. But
yeah, it
hey,
was
it's
a
better to be
wide
lucky than
open
good sometimes.
walk-in touchdown, but you're putting that all on a rookie. That's got to suck in that locker room. But yeah, I agree. And I just want to put this into perspective. Trubisky had a good game against rookie cornerbacks in their home stadium. How can you? And then imagine that with more rookie QBs and then a battered D line.
Hmm.
I don't care who you are. I would start any QB right now against the Vikings until that defensive line gets back and scary again. I just don't see that happening for much of the season until
Hmm.
Danielle Hunter at least comes back and he's on IR. So the next couple weeks, start up those QBs against Minnesota. You're gonna have a field day.
Hmm.
Um, so that's about it for the recaps. I'm gonna quick just jump through some updates and news around the league. Marlon Mack went out, and I feel so bad. Anybody who drafted him, that's unfortunate. He looked so good in the game, but he has a torn Achilles. It's been confirmed he's done for the season. Anybody who grabbed Taylor, congratulations. He has now been designated as the starting running back. I still think they're going to split time between him and Nyheim Hines, but we'll see going forward. Michael Thomas suffered a high ankle sprain. I guess he's supposed to be out for multiple weeks. I don't blame his poor performance though on the injury. He got hurt like in the very end of the fourth quarter, so I don't know what was going on there in the first place. Go find Emmanuel Sanders. Devontae Freeman, I hear, is choosing between potentially four teams. Uh, Actually, I'm curious about this. Where do you think if he were to be signed today, where would Devontae Freeman end up? He says he's got 4. Who do you think they might be?
Well, New York Jets first come to mind, just because of Le'Veon Bell going down, and they have Frank Gore and Balaj as the two running backs there. So nothing super fancy. But I don't know why the Jets would sign him anyway. I mean, what's the point? They're not going to be good. Maybe to the Jaguars if their young running backs aren't really you doing it, and they're trying to give Minshew as much love as possible. Um, I do think he could wait a little bit. I think it would be better if Freeman did wait in case a good team lost their starting running back later in the year, and they're looking for that replacement. I think that might be his best bet. If I was his agent, that would be a strategy that I'd be employing. But
Oh, for sure.
what are your thoughts there? I mean, there are other teams that are injury riddled with running backs, I'm sure, after week one. But
I like both of your picks.
uh-huh.
I should have probably put this one first. Le'Veon Bell actually, this kind of dropped, I think, yesterday. He's out on IR, so he's done for the next 3 weeks
3
with a
weeks or so.
hamstring.
Hmm.
And hamstring injuries with running backs can linger and linger and linger and
And
really
he's
hurt
not
your
getting any
fantasy
younger either.
quality. Well, and I don't mind that. He's still a good running back, but when you're not out there, you're not catching those passes, and you have Adam Gase starting Frank freaking Gore.
Speaking
Like
of not getting any
that's
younger.
yeah, that's his choice. I expect to see he better be gone halfway through. The Jets are gonna see even more horrid situations. Um, the only other thing that could potentially come to mind is I could see him potentially dropping to the Bears, depending on how well they view David Montgomery.
I don't at all.
Yeah,
Not one
exactly.
bit.
So
He-
I could see him going there. The gosh, that is a bit. The only other thing I can think of is if he ends up on the Steelers, because again, James Conner burned you. I know you had him as a top running back. He went out like first quarter of the game, and I'm not surprised. We haven't really heard more information beyond it. He did not come back that entire game. He was the bell cow at first. It was great.
Mhm.
He wasn't running the greatest, but he was still catching the passes. He was getting you those fantasy points you need. But he injury prone, injury prone, injury prone. Doesn't surprise me. So I could see him going to either two of those teams as well. And like you mentioned, down the stretch, especially, I mean, week one, we already got injuries all over.
Right.
Devontae Freeman's playing
What's
it
the
right.
rush? I mean, he could pull a Marshawn Lynch and come back right before the playoffs
Hey,
and try
whatever
to be
works.
that guy. Yeah. There's a reason why he's not on an active roster right now, so I'm not too overhyped about him joining anyone at this point.
No, exactly. I personally would, if I have space on my fantasy team, I would have him on there if I needed running back help. If I didn't, I don't see the point unless I'm using trade bait. Still, I don't think he's the best trade bait. Another news: Blake Jarwin, tight end for the Cowboys. I thought he was going to have a great year. He tore his ACL. He was out. I want to say the first or second quarter. I could see the struggles. There were a couple tight end screens, which was kind of surprising. You don't see a lot of tight end screens, but the Cowboys were trying to get him involved, so they liked him. The backup just could not hang. He was dropping passes. It's going to be a little bit rougher year for the Cowboys in the tight end position. They were really banking on Blake Jarwin. And then I know you're very well aware of this. The Allen Robinson apparently deleted all of his Bears stuff from his social media.
That's just a pettiness from modern day NFL and pro athletes. I'm not worried
On
about it at all. He had a
Okay,
good conversation today with Matt Nagy. They talked about it in the press conference this afternoon. Allen Robinson is a pro's pro. He's a leader by example. I hope the Bears sign him just to reward a pro's pro, a guy
he is
that's been
so
with the
good.
organization for a while.
He is
Yeah,
so good. He
it's
is
just a matter of
so
time.
good.
Yeah, these things take time. It's part of the negotiations. Obviously, Allen Robinson was probably upset, which caused him to, remove the social media stuff. The trade talks were shot down by his agent, and yeah, the Bears aren't trading Allen Robinson.
Nope.
There's no
I
chance.
didn't
What?
expect that. No, I
Uh,
thought that was horse crap. He still was
yeah.
like,
So
what was his stats? I think he got 5 passes for 5 for 8 or something for like 70 yards.
yeah, he had a nice day. He had
I was gonna say he was
nice
involved. He
receptions.
just he didn't make the top 25 because he didn't get you that touchdown. That's
Should have had a touchdown there.
Anthony Miller made the top, you know,
Yeah.
25, but that's because Anthony Miller got the touchdown. They both had the uh, just about the same amount of catches, but Allen Robinson still had more targets. So I agree with you. I just don't. That'd be a dumb move.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen. I can guarantee you, it's not gonna happen.
All right, let's get into some week 1 fantasy studs and busts. And I want to know your over or under reaction for each of these.
Okay.
Well, we had Marlon Mack. I had him as a bust. This was, Monday. I was writing all this down. Didn't realize. I think Tuesday came out. He had the torn Achilles. He still hurts you on your fantasy day. Then we've got Nick Chubb, 5.6 points.
Oof.
Are you worried? Are you overreacting? Are you underreacting? That's a bust. And
I
he is a
think
top first or second round pick.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's your RB1 without question. And I am worried. Granted, give me till week 2. Baltimore's got a good defense. Give them that, and the Browns just look flat out awful.
Oh, they got blown out.
Yeah.
So
So
what are
you're
you
not
gonna
really going to
do?
run the ball too much when you're down early.
And he doesn't pass catch very well either.
So yeah, I mean, I would be a little bit worried, especially because they've got Hunt too, who they're trying to utilize more and more. I mean, the names go on and on for the Browns' offensive attack. There's a lot of guys in there.
Hunt
I'd
was in the
be,
top 25, by the way.
you know,
12.1 points.
worried on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being I'm trying to get rid of this guy, 5 being kind of like, well, we'll see what happens. I'm probably about a 5 or a 6.
I was gonna say, he had a bad fantasy day. I think it was a game script. I think he got scripted out, which is your big concern about Nick Chubb, because if the Browns' offense as a whole can't move forward, he doesn't pass catch. Kareem Hunt does, so Kareem Hunt gets the work. But he had 10 rushes for 60 yards and a catch for 6 yards. The only thing I didn't like seeing was him lose a fumble. He fumbled the ball and lost it. But I wouldn't be worried. I wouldn't panic. Don't try to get rid of him or anything. 10 rushes for 60 yards. The guy's one of the best pure runners in football. He's just so good. Michael Thomas, 5 points. He got hurt, high ankle sprain. I hear he's going to miss a couple weeks, so maybe we won't underreact too much. But I don't know what your thoughts are, but he didn't get hurt till the end of the game, so I'm not really sure what happened there.
And it was a high ankle sprain initially, and then, which is just like, okay, he could probably just miss practice this week and suit up Sunday, and then they took a better look at it, and it's a little worse than they thought. So yeah, he'll miss 2 to 3 weeks. Probably start practicing here.
I appreciate that.
The middle of October. I'm not worried at all. Just put him on your IR, put him on your bench. Just save him for later. Hopefully, you scrape a win or two between these next few weeks, and then have him come back healthy and ready to go for that 20-point outburst that you're looking for.
Exactly. Okay, well, it's good to know that we're on the same page. Just to go through a few studs, Colts backfield in general, all of them looked great. Josh Jacobs, number 1 RB on the league, 3 touchdowns. Wow.
Good call.
Malcolm Brown, thank you. Malcolm Brown, I don't know. I watched a lot of that game. He's the only one of the RBs who looked good. They gave a lot of fair share handoffs to Cam Akers as well. I still expect that to continue. Don't count Malcolm Brown out. I hear a lot of people are writing him off, saying that they're going to slowly move towards Cam Akers when he gets more work.
I tell you what,
he looked like a way hell of a better running back, and he was catching passes too. So
yeah,
we'll see. But
hey, he's in the Gurley system, so
exactly.
If Gurley can do it, why not Brown? I tell you what, though, I had Henderson Jr. I drafted him last year in one of my keeper leagues. He was a rookie out of Memphis. Maybe Gurley gets hurt, you give it to the rookie. Hasn't done anything, still hasn't done anything. Before the season started, I was able to trade him for 2 second-round picks, and I am so glad I did that.
Yep, I was going to say, the roulette wheel has landed, and it's pretty clear. Malcolm Brown is number 1, Cam Akers number 2, and Henderson is just not on my radar. If you're in a regular league, drop him, in my opinion. He's just not a starter, and you only got so many positions. There's a lot of better options. 3 more studs. We got Devontae Adams. Wow. Again, those just goes with what I talked about last podcast. Those rookie cornerbacks did not have a chance. It was like, I mean, he tied the franchise record for receptions in a single game for the Green Bay Packers. Just to put into perspective how destructive Rodgers was against rookie corners.
Pretty
and then
amazing.
we got Calvin Ridley had a great day, and then Jamison Crowder busted off. I want to be careful about this one. Don't overreact and go grab him or expect to be a superstar every week. He had a busted off like 70-yard touchdown run that really skyrocketed all his points, but still a PPR machine.
Mm-hmm. Number
All
one target
right.
for a young quarterback. It's never a bad thing.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're in a PPR league, he's a wonderful flex position. I want your opinion on one other player about over or underreacting. I want to know about both the QBs going forward in the NFC North, the Packers. What do you think about Rodgers? Should we be overreacting? Do you think he's going
No,
to end up being a top 12 QB this year in fantasy?
this is vintage Aaron Rodgers. Yes, absolutely. He's got a chip on his shoulder. He's got a healthy receiving core. He's got a healthy running back.
So you're hyping it up.
If his defense is bad, then good. He'll just throw the ball more. He's my lock to be my starter every week until obviously the bye week.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's Aaron Rodgers, man. He's the best quarterback in the league. Sam's
No, he's
Mahomes a little
not.
bit, little Russell Wilson. He's
He
phenomenal.
is
He's one
like
of the best
fourth.
of all time. One of the best of all time.
I agree with that, but right
Yeah.
now he's like fourth.
I'm so sure that's still really good.
Yeah.
I'm sick of it, obviously, but you got to give credit
Yeah.
where credit's due. I mean,
Nope, I agree with you. I'm gonna have to disagree with you though. I want to see him play a good defense before I make that assumption. I think just all the chips were in his favor this week for him to deliver a big game, and no
Sure.
credit. I mean, credit is where credit's due. He had a wonderful fucking game. He torched it up. I think he was meant to torch it up that game. He had everything going his way.
He's got Detroit next week in Lambeau.
Exactly. Yep. So whenever he's at home, feel free to start him up. He's got that hard count magic when it's real quiet that throws everybody off sides. Otherwise, I'm just saying I don't think he's really going to be a top 12 quarterback this year in fantasy. I'm just saying he's streamable for sure. Going to have big blow up games this year to try to prove, you don't need the backup rookie QB. I kind of think they're going to need it when there starts to be a better defense that actually pressures them and you have solid cornerbacks. I think they're going to be a good playoff team, and now, transitioning, they're probably going to end up winning the NFC North just because the way the Vikings are playing out right now with their defense, you can't hold up. So, like you said, credit is where credit due. It's going to be interesting to see where he ends up. I want to mark this down. You think he's going to be a top 10 QB for the rest of the season?
Yeah.
All right. I like it. Yeah. I like it. And then what do you think about Trubisky?
You mean the guy that was a top 10 fantasy quarterback this week?
Yes.
Huh?
No, we were agreeing on that. He destroys the Bears. Excuse me. He destroys the Lions for the last few times he plays them.
He's going to be boom or bust. I think everyone knows that by now. The Bears don't have a difficult schedule to start the year. If you're in a 2-quarterback league that's pretty deep, then he's definitely worth the second quarterback option.
I 100% agree.
Yeah, hopefully you've got a better option for number 1 just because of his instability. But if he can scramble a little bit, use his feet, use his weapons around him, he could sneak 2 to 3 touchdown passes on a good day, just with maybe dumping it off to Cordell or Patterson, who's really fast and can break one, or Tariq Cohen in a screen game, or Allen Robinson. They use the tight ends really well this week. Matt Nagy loves tight ends, so Jimmy Graham. Hopefully, we see more out of Cole Kmet. So yeah, I could see Trubisky continue it. Well, am I going to say he's going to be top 10 by the end of the year? I think I'd be getting ahead of myself.
I agree with you on that, but I do think he is keep your minds open for a flex option against good matchups with him, especially if he runs the ball. That little cheat code's going to help. Well, all right. All right. I like it. It was a good week of football. Brain was a little mushy after Sunday with just such a long drought of none of it, and then just a vomiting excuse of all of it. But I'll take it every time.
More.
Right.
Hey, we've got Browns Bengals tomorrow night, Battle of Ohio, and then week 2 is only a few days away after that.
Yep, love it. All right, let's get into our week 2 fantasy matchups. I got eight matchups to go through this podcast, and then our next one we'll finish up with the other 8. First game we got is Bengals and Browns on Thursday Night Football. Currently, I believe the Browns are favored by 6.5 points, and the total over/under is 44.5. Who are you excited to play? Who would you start in this game? Who are you comfortable starting?
Oh man,
We're playing this week too.
Hey, why not Chubb? Why not Chubb? You got to think that
You
the
got to
Browns
start him.
are
You
going to
got to
try.
start him.
Right, you got to start him. But I mean, like a big game, like 20,
Oh yeah,
25 points, put him back on the map. You got to think the Browns are going to try to simple things up, run the football, get that going, keep Burrow off the field. You know, I'm not too familiar with how stout the Bengals defense is. You know, the Chargers pass attack isn't too great these days. So maybe a little OBJ could have a breakout game. Landry, yeah, I'd look for those Browns weapons. I know we ragged on them earlier in this episode, but Thursday night football is typically low scoring though. But maybe OBJ can sneak a touchdown or two in, and
prime
Chubb as well.
time. Um, yeah, it's definitely possible. I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna stay away if I can from OBJ until I see it because it's been
Hmm.
over a year now. I don't think he meshes well with the Browns. I think he's being force fed targets that don't end up well, and I think it's kind of ruining their offensive vibe. I really do.
Color me
That being
shocked that he's
said,
not a good guy.
yeah, yeah. That being said, if you drafted him in the third, fourth round, you don't have any better options. Like I would rather play like Robbie Anderson over Odell Beckham Jr. this upcoming week.
Now, Robbie Anderson is a guy that we didn't mention in our week one recap. He had a really good game with Teddy
Yes, he did.
Bridgewater, a
You
couple
never
deep
know.
catches. He was kind of a boomer bust guy as a Jet, but maybe they're onto something there with Carolina.
Yep, I agree with you on that one. For the Bengals side, oof, this is where it gets tough. I'm not starting Joe as much as I want to. He's on my team. Just to put this in perspective, he is my backup QB. I am not going to start him. Thursday night football, first big primetime game. Um, just it's not going to end well. I do think you have some flyer options in deep league. John Ross just barely missed like a 60-yard touchdown bomb. It wasn't even his fault. Joe Burrow overthrew him a little bit. And dude, AJ Green looked solid, and I think he's going to be the PPR machine. So I think you're good there too.
Should have had a
Um,
touchdown turn at the end of the game there.
I agree and disagree because he did push off, but I did think there was a bit of acting. But
Mhm.
it's not as bad as the Jalen Ramsey, Michael Gallup. That one was just horse shit. That was so bad. Uh, but yeah, and then of course you're gonna start up Joe Mixon. Hopefully he gets some more work this week, but uh, we never know. So we'll see how the chips lie. It seemed like Joe Burrow was a little bit more mobile than I was expecting with that touchdown run. So uh,
Look
a
good.
lot, yeah, dude, a lot of smart plays. He waited for that block. That's
Hmm.
that's big. You don't really see that kind of like awareness from rookie QBs.
Yeah, yeah, he looked comfortable, and I'm excited to see him develop one more time against Miles Garrett. We'll see what happens there.
He has
It'll be
faced
fun to watch.
two pretty good pass rushes. You had Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram on one side for the Chargers, and now you're going up against Miles Garrett and a pretty decent Browns front. Nothing too scary, not as scary as the Chargers with all the sacks he took. But I still think it's going to be interesting to watch. I think Browns have something to prove, and I think they're going to come out there and smack them in the mouth as soon as they can.
My a sleeper here in terms of maybe like DraftKings daily fantasy, get a low value for high outcome. Ronald Jones, running back Tampa. Carolina was chewed up last week against Josh Jacobs and the Raiders. No reason why the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Tom Brady can't dink and dunk their way into a lot of points, and utilizing Ronald Jones there to be that horse that they're counting him on to be.
Oh, for sure. It's definitely a good option. I'm still worried about that backfield. I still am not sure who's going to end up taking control, whether it's going to be Fournette or Jones. It looks like they tried to force Jones, but he didn't look good. Neither did Fournette, though. So we'll see how that plays out.
Now, here's an interesting thing. Adrian Peterson, he had 93 yards or something like that against Chicago. He looked like the best back out of the three. From the rookie, had the most snaps, Swift. But do you think you're banking on, and you know him better than anyone else, Adrian Peterson being a bell cow for the Lions here moving forward for the next couple of weeks?
um, Well, how about this? We'll get into it when we get into the Packers Lions preview matchup here in a couple games. But yeah, I think he's going to be your most stable option when it comes to health. I just don't think Kerryon Johnson's going to be much of a factor this year. I think he's kind of a bust. So I don't know how much I would rely on AP, but it's AP, man. The guy is still trucking like none other, and the dude needs money, so he's going to be gunning for it.
Alimony. It looked good. He
Exactly.
did look good. He looked fast. He had that
Yes, he
burst and the
did.
power.
And I think he caught a pass or two, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. No, he had 3 receptions. That's awesome. 3 receptions for 21 yards. You don't really see that as often. So no, 14 rushes, 93 yards. He had a great day. He had a great day.
Mhm.
And it was against a pretty good Bears defense, but it's also the NFC North. I'm going to keep my comments as I usually do when you play interdivision.
Mhm.
Probably knows how to beat the Bears at this point. I'm gonna assume he's got a
Yeah.
little idea of if I go this way versus that way. All right, next
What's
up
next?
we got the Titans and the Jaguars at home for the Titans. Vegas has got the points as favoring Titans by 10.5 points. The over under is 43. Ouch. What do
Under all
you
day.
you take the under? Yeah.
Yes.
What do you think's
Yes.
going to happen in this game? The Jaguars kind of got fired up last game in a game that no one expected them to win either. So
Mhm. Mhm. Well, Minshew mania. Can he keep it going? I mean, why not? The Titans defense didn't look that stout against the young offense there in Denver. Granted, that is at mile high
I was
altitude,
going
which
to
is,
say, yeah.
is tough to play in. No question about it. I, if I'm a gambling man, which I am, it's easy to pick the Titans here, just because can the Jaguars do it twice? I don't know. I mean, the Colts passing attack wasn't too superb. Granted, it's going to take some time for them to get into it. Uh, Derrick Henry should have a much better game week 2 than he did week 1. The Broncos defense did a really good job bottling him up. So I would look for Derrick Henry to be a 22 to 28 point fantasy guy this week.
Oh wow. So, okay, I would say
Yeah,
that's easily top 10 or at
they
least
got to
on
get
the
that train
borderline.
going.
Yeah,
They got to get him going.
that's how they win games. It's the only way they
Hmm.
win games. Um, I'm gonna say something crazy here. I'm gonna put this as my almost upset of the week for week 2.
Really, you're on the Minshew train, huh?
I don't know. Yes and
Going
no.
going for that mustache ride, yeah.
Sit on my face. I'm just kidding. Here's my comments. Is one, they only utilized James Robinson, I believe, for the running back 100%. Their only team to do that, and I think it ended up working well. He looked good, if not just as good as Leonard Fournette did. What impressed me was that the accuracy, the 19 for 20 for, I know it was just under 200 yards, but he also had 3 touchdowns. I think he's just in the zone, and I think that the Jaguars are going to be playing off of that high. I think they're going to be able to stop Derrick Henry, and I'm expecting the Titans to still be struggling with their offense. That's the only reason I think that there's going to be a potential upset because if you get ahead of them, they can't use their big, massive weapon, Derrick Henry. And it wouldn't surprise me if the Jags are up a score or two at the end of the first half, or the third quarter, where Derrick Henry just gets kind of game filtered out. He doesn't catch
Hmm.
the ball. So I'm going to say almost upset because I don't expect it to happen. But if I'm going to pick one out of all the ones we're talking about here today, this is my almost upset of the week.
All right, over under 50 passes in that game. Both
Total?
teams. Yeah. It could be under. I mean, both teams are methodical. I mean, the Titans
Ooh,
definitely are. They're control the clock, win a low scoring
they both
game,
are. They both are at this
and
point.
yeah, the Jaguars don't really have an identity, so it could be one of the most. It's gonna be one of those games that you forget is on until red zone like switches over to it once or
Yep.
twice. You're like, oh yeah, I forgot about these guys.
And then you go, what the fuck? The Jaguars are ahead?
Why is it 9-6 in the second quarter?
My comment is I think the Colts are a better team than the Titans, bearing, the Philip River issues. I think he was either really good throwing the ball or throwing a pick. I
Hmm.
guess some things never change. Um, but Just saying. I think it's a definite possibility that if they can beat the Colts, I think the Titans could be next. And not having as many fans, I think this all just plays in. I think playing away games are going to be a little bit more energizing for offenses, more so than defenses. All right. Next matchup, we got Giants and the Bears at Chicago. At Chicago. Bears are 5.5-point favorites. 43 over under. What are your thoughts?
Well, last year we played the Giants, and Saquon Barkley had a nice game. I would expect him to do the same. Bears' run defense didn't look too great last week against the Lions, so I would pick Saquon. Slayton had a really nice game for the Giants as well, week 1. I think the Bears secondary probably matches up well with the Steelers secondary in terms of just personnel and talent. So maybe you can sneak a touchdown in or two. Really hope to see Khalil Mack get after the quarterback there. If that's the case and we're able to control the line of scrimmage, then all bets are off for the Giants scoring more than a touchdown. But I think Jimmy Graham would be a guy that I would sneakily pick up and look for. He was targeted plenty of times in week 1. He had that touchdown late in the game. Nagy loves to use a tight end. Giants defense isn't good against tight ends. So if I were to pick anyone next week, that would be, again, daily fantasy kind of value, low value, high outcome. Jimmy Graham would be one of those guys.
I just got to pause a little hesitation. The targets were there, but without the touchdown, he is worthless. 3 for 25 and a touchdown.
He had a couple red zone targets.
Yep.
He had 2 balls that were just off his fingertips because he mistimed the jump, which I'll give that to, I don't know, week 1, I guess, week 1 shortcomings. But, you look at Anthony Miller, who had a nice game against Detroit. Obviously, Allen Robinson's got a chip on his shoulder because he wants to get paid. That's Trubisky's favorite target. Running back situation's weird. We split carries between Montgomery, Cohen, and Cordell Patterson.
Doesn't surprise me.
I wouldn't really bank on any of those running backs to be a surefire guy.
It should be David, but Matt Nagy is always trying to do these, and I know you're a big fan, but he's always trying to do these stupid fucking trick plays with all his running backs, and it doesn't work. It didn't work for the run game last year. I don't know why he's trying it again this first game. I hope he picks one running back for each of their specialty. Run the ball with David Montgomery. Throw some screen passes to Tyreek Cohen. And Cordell Patterson, like, freaking really?
He had a good game.
Starting running back or don't. That's my comments.
He's good. He was fast. He was really fast.
Yeah, so start him up as your starting running back for your team, or else I don't know what you're doing because he can't catch the ball very well. And trust me, I fucking know.
He can. He's a wide receiver. Anyway,
he used to be in Minnesota for a while. He was.
Yeah.
Come on now. You know what he did? He returned punts and kicks. That's pretty much.
He's good for good screens out of the backfield, quick throws. Just really get the ball in his hands and let him run. That's what he's there for.
I understand. You keep going down that road, and you're not going to be winning a whole lot of games that way. That's all my comment is.
Yeah. Well, it was good to see the Bears use like a power formation more and keep Trubisky under center. So
it was.
We didn't have a goal line situation either, so I couldn't tell you inside the 5 who's getting the ball. All of our touchdowns were 10 to 15 yards out.
It's David Montgomery, but I'm also going to be biased because he's on my team. So, but he looked good in flashes last year, but they just don't. He's not being utilized in the right way. That's my comment. And maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong. If I am, dude, start Cordell Patterson up as a starting running back. I don't know why he hasn't done that yet because everything you said about him is completely accurate. When the ball's in his hands, he's a scary guy. When you're trying to throw him the ball, it's a scary.
You just can't be too predictable. That's the thing. Like, you can't be, Montgomery's in, it's going to be a run up the middle. Cohen's in, it's going to be a screen in the flat. You got to mix it up so it's not that obvious to the defense,
Oh, for sure. But when you keep shuffling them out and you bring them in for certain plays, I feel like you're giving them like, oh, Tyreek Cohen's in, it's going to be a pass play. You know what I mean? And maybe they utilize. I wasn't able to watch the whole game that way, but my concern is when you pick and put certain running backs in certain positions, like you're giving the defense an easier way to read what type of play that you're going to end up throwing at them. Anyway, I still think the Bears are going to win this game, hands down. I don't know if it's going to be that close, though. I see the Bears winning by a touchdown or 2. I'm sure you like that diagnosis.
I love that diagnosis. Yeah, I could see it too. The
Turnovers.
Giants are a bad team.
It's
Yeah,
all
can
coming down to
we
turnovers.
just move the football, score in the red zone? Hopefully the defense plays a little bit better than they did against the Lions, and yeah, I would expect the Bears and the points here.
Yeah, I mean, usually I would start on the Giants side. If you need to in a two quarterback league, I'm fine starting Danny Dimes. Expect a turnover or two. I mean, there were a few rookie throws he made where he's been sacked or something last game where I'm like, throw the ball away, don't give up the interception, especially when you're inside the 20. Darius Slayton, to your point of daily fantasy, that guy seems to just get all the love from Danny Dimes. The perfect passes, the touchdowns. I don't know if I'd be comfortable starting him in my regular fantasy lineup, as depending on what type of league it is. If I've got a 3 wide receiver league or something, definitely starting him up if I can. I'm just worried about that Bears secondary, but if anyone's going to get that touchdown, it's going to be him. Daily fantasy, totally think he could be a wild card that ends up getting you a big boom bust game. Who do you think on the Bears? Who would you start? Who do you recommend starting for fantasy?
Oh, always Allen Robinson. To me, he's a WR1 or WR2, depending on
Yeah.
how good you are at wide receiver. Like I said, running backs would be a little scary. If you need a tight end desperately, Jimmy Graham could do it for you. Yeah, that's really what it comes down to. I've seen people start Anthony Miller just because he's like the slot guy. Um, Again, boom or bust. How many completions is Trubisky going to have? Then you got to figure, all right, there's a lot of weapons at hand. He's not just a one horse kind of like just pass it to this guy kind of quarterback. Um, so I'd be weary, but Allen Robinson, you can never go wrong.
If you had to start a Bears running back, which one would it be?
Montgomery.
Okay, I'm just
Yeah,
wanted to I
yeah.
wanted to hear you say it.
I would start Montgomery for sure. He gets most of the carries. He's going to get the goal line attempts. He falls
Well,
forward. The Bears
I'm
averaged
curious.
5.5 yards a carry last week against the Lions. Really good to see. They're going to be focused more on the run this year, definitely. And Montgomery's the lead guy.
Yeah, well, and they got phased out. I mean, they were down quite a bit, so I can understand why there wasn't as much rushing when it came to trying to climb back into that game. I mean, he had 3 touchdowns, right, in the fourth quarter. I mean, it
Yep.
was a quick and big comeback. Can't do that on the ground usually.
Right.
All right, next matchup we got are the Panthers and Tampa, and this is kind of where you're digging into some Robbie Anderson love.
Yeah, how about that? A lot of it came on one play, deep pass down the field, which
That's
always
who he
helps.
is. Yeah,
That's who
that's
he
who
is.
he
That's
is.
all he's ever been, right? Um, and that was a shootout too. So Tampa's defense is better. Granted, the Saints were able to do what they wanted with them.
Saints are the
Um,
Saints.
yeah, Saints are the Saints, right? So I mentioned this a few minutes ago, but I would be looking for Ronald Jones to have a big game here against a beat up Panthers defense
I like it.
that gave up 3 touchdowns last week to Josh Jacobs.
All right. I
And
like it. I
especially
like it.
because late breaking news too, Godwin is in concussion protocol,
Yeah, I hope he comes out of that because
and
they're going to struggle if he does not.
and Mike Evans is still a little weary with his injury too. So
Be
uh,
aware for Scotty Miller. He seems to be quite the favorite target for, I wouldn't say favorite, but a favored target of Tom Brady. And to have a favored target of Tom Brady is always a good one.
yeah, OJ
Um,
Howard had a good game too.
Beautiful. I was just about to mention him. Yeah. Nowhere last year, excuse me. I'm sure he burned quite a bit of people. So um, I'd be comfortable. I don't know. Would you be comfortable starting him this week?
OJ Howard.
Yeah.
I would hope you have someone better. If you're playing the matchup game, then this is a good one for you. I think this is one of those weeks where if you have a Buccaneer, you play him.
OJ Howard or Jared Cook? Who would you rather start?
OJ Howard or Jared Cook? Jared Cook. Uh,
Okay,
just considering that the Saints are obviously injury riddled at the wide receiver position, and
that's
um,
fair. That's fair. It's probably not a better comparison. What about Jimmy Graham or OJ Howard?
hmm, Jimmy Graham because he's a starter.
Really? Okay. No, I can see that. They're
Yeah.
both.
They
They're
both had
both about
similar
the same
games last
yards.
week. Yeah, they both had similar games last
Yep.
week.
4 for
Um,
6, 36 yards and touchdown, 3 for 7, 25 and a touchdown. Okay, no, I'm just trying to get a vibe of, where you would rank OJ Howard. So if anyone's kind of looking through their list, would you
yeah.
play him over Darren Waller?
Oof. Well, let's see.
He had a,
Raiders
he had a
home
better game. He
opener
was he was 6
Monday
for
Night
8 for
Football
45 yards.
against a bad defense, though. Saints defense is much better than that. I'd be weary of Waller. From a daily fantasy perspective, I think you can get more value from a cheaper standpoint.
Oh, for sure. I'm
Um,
just curious, who would you start, OJ Howard or Darren Waller?
Again, I think I'll start Darren Waller. He's the number one
Okay.
guy.
Okay.
OJ Howard is still number 2 on the depth chart.
I just don't think Gronk is Gronk anymore after that game. So everybody out there, just be wary. Keep your eyes peeled on OJ Howard. I'd like to see it for more than 1 week because he has had decent games and it wasn't this big blow up game. It wasn't like a Noah Fant week. So I'm just saying, keep your eye out. You never know. He could end up being quite a favorite target for Brady coming down the line.
Sure. I mean, Arians loves him.
Yep. And I don't blame him. He's an athletic freak.
Yeah.
Who are you starting on Panthers side of the ball?
Well, I want to see DJ Clark do better because I have him in multiple leagues.
You mean more?
DJ Moore. Sorry, I said DJ Clark last week too. What's with
Yeah.
me with that?
DJ.
DJ. Yeah. Yeah. DJ Moore. I want to see more out of him. Obviously, CMC is going to be your guy. He's always your guy. Teddy Bridgewater. He had a nice week from a fantasy perspective as well. Again, and I mentioned this earlier, but Anderson is kind of that boomer bust guy. He's nothing unless he gets the deep ball. So I would
But
start.
Teddy threw the deep ball.
Teddy did throw the deep ball. So
That's what
Anderson
was
is a flex at best, but DJ Moore is a wide receiver 2 or 3.
Oh, you
You
got
know
to
what I mean?
start DJ Moore. He's at
Right.
least a wide receiver too. He should be we'll see, to your point. We'll see how it goes going forward, but I expect him to be the number 1 target, especially when they start playing better teams.
Mm-hmm.
CMC, come on, we don't need to talk about that. He really good. So let's just skip off of that. I think you can start up Brady this week as well. I think he's gonna be pissed off, fired up, and ready to get a little redemption in for this upcoming week.
Yeah, TB12 for sure. Arians is gonna want to show off his favorite toy. I believe it's the home opener too.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
'Cause they're at
So
the Saints. Yep.
yeah, they're in Florida this week. The weather, I think it should be nice if that storm cell gets through. So if it's nice weather, then that'll only help the passing attack.
Exactly. I'd be weary. I know you're big on Ronald Jones this week. I think he has some great potential. I'd just be weary. I'm nervous about that backfield until they decide who's who. Because Arians is saying the starter's Ronald Jones, but he's also sprinkling in quite a bit of Leonard Fournette. So I'm hoping you're
Jones,
right,
yeah,
and I think
Jones,
he will get the majority. But if Leonard Fournette's the one who breaks off the big play, it wouldn't shock me. That's all I'm trying to say.
Jones got 17 attempts and 3 targets.
Nice.
He's getting the ball.
Do you know how many that Leonard Fournette got?
I do not have that in front of me.
All right, I will try to pull that up real quick while we move on and start talking about the Broncos and the Steelers. They're at Pittsburgh. Steelers are 6.5 home favorites. The over/under is 43 points. Give us a laydown, Steve.
All right. Well, Noah Fant, right? The MVP Noah Fant. He's a stud. If you got him, in a keeper league, congratulations. I traded him in a deal that got me
Oh
Travis
wow!
Kelce. I got Kelce out of it and
No,
Kyler
I'm
Murray.
not. Yeah, I'm not
So
complaining about that. Yeah,
it was
the
worth it.
trade was you gave him a couple of your first round picks. You were able to trade for a couple, and this is a keeper league, so first round picks are big.
Yep. Yeah, it was 2 first rounders and then Noah Fant, and I got Kyler Murray and Travis Kelce out of it.
No offense, looking like a breakout. I know
It's good.
him and
Yeah,
TJ
Steelers
Hawkinson are
defense
on
though is
my
really good
radar,
too.
but wow, I mean, I think he's just going to be Drew Lock's favorite target. I think that's it.
Yes, yeah, without question. Little Judy here and there. Philip Lindsay has got turf toe, so Melvin Gordon's going to be the bell cow there. So yay for Melvin Gordon fantasy owners. From a Steelers side of the ball, obviously Juju Smith-Schuster is back in action. He's got Big Ben throwing him the football. Really good to see him there. questionable about the running back situation, as we mentioned. And then another guy to kind of keep on your radar moving forward is the rookie Chase Claypool.
Yep.
He had a nice reception there on the sideline. He had a really good training camp and off season. The team loves him. He's 6'4", 227. He's a big guy.
Big Ben favorite
I could
target.
see him sneak into that, number 3, number 2 wide receiver slot, going over Deontay Johnson and James Washington. So in deeper leagues, if he's not already taken because he's a rookie, I'd stash him, save him for a rainy day. But obviously this week it's all about Juju.
Oh no, yeah, he. I think that with Big Ben back, you're going to see a lot better play from Juju. 6 for 6 for 110. Is it? It could be.
Yep,
Yeah,
6 for
no,
6,
100.
69 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. So he had a great game. But yeah, I agree with everything you said. I think Chase Claypool is eventually potentially a nice red zone target for him as well.
Mhm.
You starting up? Who you starting on the Steelers side? I would be fine starting up Benny Snell. Just saying, with James Conner being iffy, Benny Snell looked great. So
Mhm.
if you can get him, you can start him. You need him, do it.
Yep. I would look for Eric Ebron as well. The,
Okay.
the the Broncos secondary is a little beat up, and so is their linebacking core, and obviously Von Miller being out. The Titans were able to move the ball, and they're not nearly as good of a passing attack as the Steelers are. So I would definitely take, I think, the Steelers to cover the spread if we're going that way. I would also take the under. And then, yeah, look for Juju to get the most of the targets. And then maybe you could sneak in an Eric Ebron touchdown or two. The Steelers have a lot of faith in him to be that guy to solidify the tight end passing attack. So he could be one of those sneaky players for you.
I agree. I'd be worried he didn't get as much last week, but it's
2
also
targets. Yeah.
yeah, a game script in my opinion. They were beating the Giants. I wouldn't say handily, but a score or two above, where they just didn't need to be. I'm sure he was more utilized in the blocking. Broncos side, start up Melvin Gordon. Um, I'm nervous. You can start up Jerry Jeudy. I believe in him. I think he's going to be rusty though. So Noah Fant for sure. Start him up until I'm not trying to overreact to week one, but
Uh-huh.
it's not like he had one big play. He was getting targeted pretty well. So
I'd be a little worried about Judy just because Cortland Sutton should be coming back.
I would be worried regardless. I just don't know if I believe that Cortland Sutton's going to be more of a distraction than the actual huge fantasy asset. I'd be wary of starting him. If you drafted him, though, you got to start him. So
Yeah.
there's not really many backup options. So I'm not trying to dissuade anybody here. I'm just saying I think Jerry Jeudy could potentially have a really big game with all the eyes focused on Cortland Sutton.
Hmm.
All right, let's power through the rest here. We got Rams and the Eagles. Rams at the Eagles are the 2.5-point favorites. I'm not starting anyone that's not a tight end on the Eagles. Even maybe Deshaun Jackson. I think he could get a big play. Rams, you'd be fine starting both their wide receivers, Robert Woods or Cooper Kupp. Play them.
Hmm.
My curious question is, would you still be fine with starting Cam Akers, or are you only going to start their Malcolm Brown as their supposed lead running back for the time being? They split carries, but
It's
Malcolm Brown was clearly better.
yeah, I would be a little weary of starting Cam Akers as well. It's almost kind of like with the Ravens and Melvin Ingram and J.K. Dobbins, kind of same situation, rookie running back as the number 2 back. Obviously, Dobbins had the better week than Cam Akers. So I guess until Cam Akers shows it, I would reserve him on my bench unless I'm desperate. My concern here, or what I'm looking for, is Miles Sanders. He missed week 1 for the Eagles with a hamstring injury. He's coming back against the Rams defense, which gave up a lot of rushing yards to the Dallas Cowboys. Sanders is going to be that bell cow. We'll see if he's able to overcome a hamstring injury, get past Aaron Donald, and do some damage there to the Rams.
Yeah. My only thing is I don't like hamstring issues with running backs. If I
Nope.
can avoid them, I'm going to. If you got to start them, you drafted them. Start them up.
Yeah, I think I got to start him, but in my lineup, I'm not sure who I replace, and that's the tricky thing.
Exactly. Sometimes you just gotta hope for the best.
Hmm.
Hold on. Sorry about that. My dog uh, decides to eat a lot of fur and fluff from his toys and then continues to randomly puke it up and doesn't stop. So I heard the
Oh no. Oh no.
oh no. Sorry about that. I guess
You're
that was a
good.
good breaking point. Anyway, let's move on to the
We can
Packers.
cut it out.
Yeah, yeah,
That's where we put in our commercial.
yeah, exactly.
Need social media marketing services.
The lawnmower 3.0.
Yeah, shave those pubes.
Mm. Um. Oh God. Yeah. Anyway. Next we got Packers and Lions. And they're in Green Bay. Packers are 5.5 point favorites. I think that should be higher. 46.5 over under.
They're only 5.5 point favorites.
Yep.
Oh my god, I'm gonna smash that.
Yeah.
I'm
I'm
literally
definitely.
logging into Bovada right now.
uh. Anyway. You can start up your regulars for Packers: Devontae Adams, Aaron Jones, Rodgers. I think you're good to start with because again, I think he's going to ride this coattails on these shitty cornerbacks until he gets a real challenge. So I think you're good there. Lions side of the ball. I'm curious. I'm not sure if Kenny Galladay is going to be back in. I'd be okay with Matt Stafford streaming. I think that Marvin Jones is poised to have potentially a big game. Be aware of that for daily fantasy. Um, Otherwise, I think I'm still starting DeAndre Swift. And to your point earlier, AP, if you're in a deeper league, if you've got a 3 wide receiver or 2 flex league, I think he could be viable for a start this week. I don't think the Packers run defense scares me at all. I think the Vikings were able to do that, but when you're down by 2 scores, you can't run the ball very much, can you?
Right. Yeah, shoot. I just checked Bovada. The line just changed. It literally, as I was clicking on the bet, it's 6.5 now, which is
Mm,
still a smashable
oh,
bet.
for
I mean,
sure. It's a
the Packers
touchdown.
are going to put up 35 points. Can Matt Stafford keep up? Maybe. I mean,
Uh,
the Packers defense gave up a lot of touchdowns. Granted, a couple of them were in garbage time against the Vikings. Um, Alan Lazard, Marquez Valdez Scantling,
I'm avoiding.
you're avoiding,
They had two. They
in beat
each
up
just had one big
secondary.
play.
It's
They
going to
had
be a
each
game
had
time
one.
decision based on the Lions secondary health. I think it could be a week to me. If you've got a Packer, you start them. Um, so there's that. I
I
would avoid their tight ends. I don't even think Rodgers knows what tight ends are.
I'm just saying, uh, Marquez Valdez Scantling, 4 receptions, 96 yards, and a touchdown. He had like a 70 to 80 yard touchdown grab, or was it more 60 yards? And same thing for Lazard. He had like a 50-yard grab or something awesome like that, and he had 4 for 4 for 63 and a touchdown. Not saying that this can't repeat itself, just trying to make people be aware. The one person I am for sure comfortable with is the man who got 17 targets, and that is Devontae Adams.
41
So,
points. Oh
yeah,
my gosh.
I know. And this is just the format that I downloaded, and it varies. If you have different, like our league, if you get more than 200, receiving yards, you get a little bump. You get
Sure.
extra stuff in the game, but yeah, I think they had two big blown plays that got them touchdowns. Maybe that's all talent. I'm gonna wait and see. I'm just saying
Mhm.
you had a beat up rookie secondary, so I am be weary, be cautious. That's all I'm saying. I'm not dissuading. I'm not trying to say don't start them. Just it wouldn't surprise me if you get a bust game. You get like a 4 receptions for 30 yards or something, or 3 receptions for 37. It wouldn't surprise me.
Galladay might be out again. Sneaky guy here, and I need to pick him up right now as I'm seeing this. Wisconsin Badger Quintez Cephas had 10 targets in week 1. He's on no one's radar. He's their number 4 wide receiver on that depth chart. But if they're beat up, why are they throwing to Danny Amendola anyway? Use the rookie. he had a great career for Wisconsin. Just another stash guy like Chase Claypool, Quintus Cephas. Keep him on your radar.
Good note. Good note. On our final game we're talking through, we got the 49ers and the Jets. God, I want to check to see if this is updated. It's a 7. They're at MetLife playing they're at the Jets. San Francisco's favored by 7 points, 43.5 point over under. What are your thoughts on that?
Oof. Well, I would take San Francisco -7.
It's 7.5 at this point. Yeah, this got
Okay.
updated. But
No problem.
still,
Easy.
yeah.
Again, another if you got him, start him. Although the San Francisco wide receiving core, who knows? You know, they're desperate for a number one guy. And the Niners were a big target for when Allen Robinson had his 4.5 hour trade demand fiasco. Yeah, obviously Kittle is going to be your guy without question. So
Be careful. He's a little banged up, so it wouldn't surprise me if he doesn't do as well. But you got to start him. Like he's my tight end. I'm starting him. It doesn't matter. Jets side of the ball. I'm curious what they're going to end up with. I guess if you really need to, Frank Gore. Because he's going to use him. He's getting the goal line carries. Maybe he falls into the end
Are
zone.
they even going to get to the goal line though?
I don't know, and that's exactly. So flip a coin, toss it up, try your luck.
Yeah.
San Francisco 49ers, you can start Raheem Mostert. I think he's just the big play guy. He's going to get about like 12 to 16 touches, each game. But what he does with them is what makes him so special. If you need to, I've got Tevin Coleman. I'm just not interested in starting him until I feel like San Francisco plays the hot hand. And until I see him get that hot hand, I'm going to avoid that situation.
Mostert's the guy. 20 total touches last week.
Yeah. Yep. I just think he's going to be your solid baseline of at least 12 to 16, and he can do something pretty amazing with it if he gets the opportunity to. Yeah, they're wide receivers, though. See how it goes. I'm not comfortable starting any any Jets wide receivers or any 49ers wide receivers.
Yeah, I mean, you would think Deebo Samuel didn't play.
No, I think he's hurt. I think
Week
they put
4.
him
Yep.
on IR.
So that opens up the door to the rookie,
Ayuk.
Ayuk, yeah, from Arizona State again, but he didn't play. Kendrick Bourne, he only got 5 targets, even though the
I think they're going to rely heavily on the run game, and it wouldn't surprise me. I am tempted to take the under because I think that they're just going to ram it down their throats, and I think their defense is just going to swarm and gobble up Darnold like no tomorrow.
Who got the targets for the 49ers? I've clicked on a few names now, and I can't find. Wow. All right.
Yeah, and exactly why I'm avoiding him.
Yeah.
Exactly why I'm avoiding.
Tavon Austin, he's nope.
Yeah.
So
Exactly. Well,
yeah.
anyway. Yeah, that's your first half of the half starts, or I guess first half of the games for starts of the week, fantasy wise and football, brought to you by
Brought to you by the beer I'm about to drink.
Yeah, exactly. Man, I'm gonna have to go get one here real soon.
Yep.
Love it. Second show in the books. We'll see you in a couple days with our part 2 podcast. We'll go over the rest of the matchups for the week. And we're going to actually put in a little bit of our top 5 fantasy guesses. And we'll also go over, we're going to do a daily fantasy fill out last week. Oh, we forgot to tell them, not a huge win, but with our daily fantasy lineup last week, we ended up winning 10 to 12 bucks. So
hell yeah.
Always good to be in the green. Exactly, man.
That's all that matters, right?
So we'll go through all that in the next couple days and get you ready for the weekend. So as always, good to talk to you, bud.
Yep.
See you next time.
Good talking to you. I'll talk to you soon.